Clubhouse.
Welcome to Pod Clubhouse's first podcast covering the brand new MGM Plus series called Beacon 23. This is Paul Daly here with Inez and Gabby. How are you guys doing?
Hello. Happy to be here, Paul. Thanks.
Yeah, terrific.
Super excited. Let's get this show on the road.
All right. Did you guys even know MGM Plus was a thing before I asked you to assist me on this podcast?
I think I'd heard of it, and then I forgot immediately after.
It used to be called Epix, and now it's called MGM Plus.
Oh.
It is home to a couple of TV shows that are very underwatched, including one called From, that's a lot like Lost. It even has Harold Perrineau in it as the lead. But that's a great show that because it's hidden on this little tiny subscription service no one has seen, but you probably should. You'd enjoyed it.
I totally had Epix actually at one point, and I have seen some of that show. And then, they changed it to MGM Plus, and I forgot about it. That's really funny. I had like a nice little 3-month free or discounted subscription that I must have forgotten about.
Yeah. I mean, they also made a couple seasons of a show called Pennyworth, which was based on Bruce Wayne's butler, Alfred. Before he became the butler, he was apparently like James Bond.
Yeah, I started that too. Oh my gosh, that's so sad that they changed their name and then lost me.
Well, MGM has, 100 years worth of name recognition. It's just if you keep changing names and you're kind of hard to find and you don't have these huge marquee shows, but you have more like these niche interest shows, then you're going to stay hidden. So Beacon 23 might help them claw their way up into more television sets, dragging off the success of Silo. Earlier this year came out from AppleTV Plus. And the reason they're tied together is that they're both based on the source material from the same novelist, Hugh Howey. Did either of you guys watch Silo? I know Gabby did.
I did not. She's not up with the times. Paul, I am so sorry.
Oh, you didn't take my pitch of it's Snowpiercer, but it makes more sense.
It does. It's amazing.
I do want to watch it. You know how long my queue is? I have lists of recommendations that I get from Gabby all the time.
I'm
and
sorry.
I'm trying to work my way through all of those.
Rewatch.
I also go back and have other shows from other people. So, I'm in high demand for my time, guys.
No,
I understand.
She rewatches.
She's on her 13th rewatch of Friends.
She's a liar. No, not even Friends. We don't even have to name her rewatch list. It's ridiculous.
What is my rewatch list? My rewatch list.
Let's not talk about that. What we can talk about is how MGM has 100 years worth of recognition. But Paul, let me ask you something. Are 100-year-old people watching? Are they streaming? No. So it was a bad move because young people knew Epix. You know what young people don't know? MGM. You know why? Because we're not watching commercials because we're streaming stuff.
That's true. I guess.
Bad move.
I mean,
sorry, boomers.
The big fat recognition with MGM is some really long legacy characters like James Bond.
I just think about a lion.
Yeah, exactly. The roaring lion, of course. Anyhow, Hugh Howey, a novelist who you guys would probably like him if you met him. I saw him at Comic-Con this summer, and I took the worst selfie in the history of selfies with him that I was so ashamed of that I couldn't actually put on social media because it was that unflattering for me. But he was a really cool guy on a couple of different panels where people were just kissing his ass based on his accomplishments, and he not once gave in to any ounce of ego or anything that would suggest that he thought of himself in any terms more accomplished or better than anybody else sharing the stage with him. And that was really endearing, I thought. He kind of a self-made guy. He has had several different careers, including yacht captain. One of the things that I think makes him kind of a cool guy is he was captain of a yacht that was docked in Manhattan on 9/11. And when people started to kind of rush away from the center of town to get just anywhere away, he started using the yacht to ferry people from Manhattan over to New Jersey. I mean, it wasn't his yacht, obviously. He's just the yacht captain. But he didn't wait for anybody to tell him to do it or ask permission. He just started doing that. And it's just little things like that where he doesn't wait to be told, well, this is the right way to publish a book. This is the right way to make a TV show. He just does it, and then people end up thinking it's pretty cool.
Solid guy.
Yeah, well, I thought so. His big publishing claim to fame is that he self-published the Silo books. Unlike the traditional publishing model where an author needs to kind of kiss the ass of a publishing house and maybe make a living eventually sometime, he self-published through Amazon. And when the publishing houses came to him to ask if he would publish with them, he was able to dictate terms to them about what he wanted from them, and they had to give it to him, which is a very unusual position to be in. So he's gone on to write different novels, including Beacon 23, which was less of a novel and more of a collection of short stories. I have not watched ahead from the premiere night's episodes 1 and 2, which we'll be talking about in this podcast. But I have seen articles suggesting that although the show will be somewhat serialized, it will also benefit from an emergency of the week sort of model, sort of like Star Trek or something like that, which owes to its origination from being a collection of short stories that were all based on the same beacon, but they weren't necessarily like one leads to the next. It was some period of time passing in between them that wasn't really important.
Oh, I like that.
What did you guys think of the show?
I'm glad that you kind of gave some of that context because watching into the episode 2, I was surprised of it being like its own like start to end story. And I was like, oh, it just feels like very like old school to me.
Yeah, sure.
Like I felt, right? And so it has, it kind of has some prominent like sci-fi things. It's got the sci-fi cheese. I'm always, every time we have a sci-fi kind of series, I always have to kind of evaluate and assess the level of cheesiness that is like obligatory. I felt like there was a lot of kind of like one-liners or kind of like conversations that were just kind of cliche or typical. It's in episode 1.
Give me an example.
I knew somebody was going to ask me that. I was really tired, but we can like do like a live view one of these days, and I'll start pointing them out that way. But yeah, so like Halen was the one who had primarily like those kind of typical cheesy lines, or it's just like unoriginal script.
All the sequences where he is lying poorly to Aster because I said so, that that kind of stuff. Yeah, you're right. It did kind of roll off in this sort of predictable, like, this is not surprising me yet sort of way. I'm glad that there are more surprises to come than what happened right up front there. Because I mean, there are a lot of questions that we are left with as viewers moving forward in the show. But before we get to all that, what about you, Gabby?
Geez Louise, this is going to be a fun podcast because holy moly, I was here for everything and loved it right from the start because the intro was freaking amazing. And I guess we can say it's because of this old school feel you guys are talking about. I didn't catch that. I guess I was just loving and living that experience. I mean, it's just, Star Trek, right? Star Trek just had these pretty fucking amazing intros that still get me riled up and excited and happy. And so this was so beautiful to watch. I mean, the intro was, I felt like I was watching Star Trek, but with the times. So technology advancement now makes it look absolutely gorgeous. And I was just so happy to just be there. And I mean, I could just watch the movie on mute or the show on mute and be very, very, very happy with. And so I guess maybe I didn't catch cheesiness. I did like or notice that in the first episode, I was really confused. And yeah, I suppose it was because of what you guys call cheesy and what I didn't think that. I just thought, okay, this is those characters. It was kind of like I was watching Star Trek Voyager where like things are just happening and I'm just like having to be here for it. And I really trust that it's going to get somewhere quickly or just whenever. And I don't know, I was just really enjoying everything that I was seeing. I didn't even nitpick any of the dialogue just because I did appreciate that I felt like these characters were unique.
Well, you should know that Inez doesn't usually mean cheesy with animosity. It's usually more endearing than that.
I do like cheese. I just always like when it's sci-fi. I just like it. For me, it's like fun. I find it fun to find the cheesy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't notice that. I guess because I maybe am like cheesy or something. I didn't recognize the cheese. I thought it was like more serious, and I'm very happy with the cast. And I think that Lena Headey, right? I love watching her in everything. Like she is so versatile and
she's really great in this.
This is not any of the other characters. Like I appreciate that so much. I saw her the last, episode I saw her in was Billions, and then watching her in this, like I had to, I don't know, like relook it up because I'm like, this is her, right? Like I'm not crazy. This is her because I love her versatility and I love what she brought with this character. And usually some characters, I love the confidence that all of these people have in their characters in this context, just because putting myself in that situation, like I did catch myself thinking like, oh, well, why are they not like more panicked, or why are they not reacting like the way maybe I would in that moment? And then I remember the context of like, fast forward different times, like they're basically pirates in space, and this is just like a different setting and environment and like atmosphere that they are introducing me to, and it's all new. And so I was really confused throughout this, but I appreciated watching it. And then the end of this episode, I was very, very excited for the next one because I thought, okay, they wrapped it up. This is a fun show. Like I'm ready for the next one.
The connective tissue between, I would say, the book and the TV show, I think is mostly tied up in Halen's character. The book, I don't think is going to provide much of a template for episodes or arcs or anything like that. I think it's more like the setting, the character, the feel, the tone. I read the book several years ago, and what I recall was a sort of a meditation on loneliness and madness and that kind of stuff. And you get that feeling with Halen. But in terms of like plot points and stuff, I think the opening spaceship crash was part of that. But the rest of it is extrapolated from the setting and the introduction of Aster to the mix and all that stuff. Doing all of that, developing the show, was the responsibility of a guy named Zach Penn. You have seen his work. You have seen a lot of his work. He wrote X2. He wrote X-Men: The Last Stand. He wrote The Incredible Hulk. He wrote The Avengers. He wrote Ready Player One. He wrote Free Guy. He has at least story credit on those things, meaning that he might have originated the first script, but then it might have been rewritten later. So you've seen a lot of his work, and he's done a little bit of TV before. So he got in the news recently for being quoted in a book for calling Joss Whedon a dick. And I just actually got to that part in that book, and it makes a lot of sense. It does sound like Joss Whedon is a dick.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Noted. Yeah.
So I think the recurring characters are going to be played by Lena Headey or Headey. I'm not sure how you say her last name. Most well known, I think, for playing Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. But she has been acting just a ton for the last 20 years. Oh, definitely. You don't think so?
Well, I thought, no. I thought
62 episodes of Cersei Lannister.
300. I loved her in 300.
300. Yeah, 300 was like her big one for me. Every time I see her, that is who she is. And
Very
then everything
much,
else is sprinkles.
Queen Gorgo in 300. I mean, Cersei Lannister. I mean, if you ever use the phrase "I choose violence," You're quoting her, okay? So,
She quoted me, Paul.
oh, you're right. You're right. All right. So then the other actor is Stephen James, who I was not as familiar with his work, but he has done a ton of it, including playing Jesse Owens in a movie called Race about Jesse Owens. He was in Selma. He was in If Beale Street Could Talk. He was one of the main characters in the TV show Homecoming about PTSD and veterans, and Julia Roberts was in that show. So he has done a ton of work. I just haven't seen a lot of it myself. He's got very sympathetic eyes, I think.
Ooh, yeah, his list is it's a good one. He's been in a lot of nice statement pieces.
I'm gonna have to check him out because I'm looking at his list of films right now, and yeah, Gabby, it's like a really great impression right off the bat from there, but I haven't seen any of these, so I'm gonna have to go back because I can only base it off of what I'm experiencing in this show, and I feel like Lena's work on Aster is just so great and so dynamic and versatile, and it's, to me, it makes it like the experience gap between her and Stefan look really prominent. I felt like his acting was not as like well-rounded as like her, and I think because I see them together and I see her scenes and whatnot, I wrote down that his acting just kind of didn't come off as strong for me in this one so far. And I think maybe part of it is, I think a lot of it is the script, and he's the one who's getting the cheesier kind of like lines and moments. And so, I don't know, whatever he's trying to do to kind of like bring that out, it's just kind of, to me, is a little bit of a distractor because she's so strong and she's so solid. And I think also I really like Harmony and her acting too. And so I didn't intend to kind of rank them, but since we're having the conversation, I'm just kind of processing it. I love the AI interactions so much. You always see in these kinds of films or shows where the AI just like does stuff, right? You just give it a command, they spit back their analysis, or then they execute the actions, right? But I loved how we kept going, like, we kept getting like direct feedback from the AI about like what was going on. And then in this episode 2, getting like a visual kind of perspective of that whole dynamic between Harmony and Bart and the interference and stuff like that. So I thought that was super clever and was really fun to watch.
I mean, she's a Cortana, so I was really happy to watch a cooler Cortana. At least that's how I felt. So just about like the acting, I totally like see what you're saying. I though just contributed that difference in intensity with, well, he's supposed to be the ex-military and he's young and ex-military, so I did actually feel like that was a pretty good representation of like that kind of person who's kind of not narrow-minded, but he obviously, like, we learn later, like, he has a lot going on that might contribute to the quick responses, short-sighted thinking sort of thing. It's like it's in survival mode from one moment to the next, whereas Aster's character is absolutely, her character was so incredibly like mysterious, right? Because she knows so much more, and then we of course find out like what's going on between them. And so I don't know, I contributed the like that gap that you're talking about to just like him being a veteran and his character. But the story is developing, and so I feel like maybe the sympathetic eyes also. Paul, you're right, he has a look that, I don't know, I think it fits well with this character that's just like really like honorable and flawed together. Those are definitely the best characters. There's a lot, the dynamic characters in this, even though he is kind of flatter than Aster, and then the AIs, oh my gosh, they are amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you were mentioning Bart or Bartholomew to his
Yes.
non-friends, I guess.
I love him so much.
I liked how Harmony offhandedly mentioned something like he hasn't been around people, and so that's why he's acting this way. She's not talking about Halen, she's talking about Bart.
Yeah, it was so good. I loved the AI. I love the AI interaction emotions. And yeah, the women in this, holy cow, they really are just superior characters, dynamic depth. You could like acting, but I mean that's not so different from like real life, you know what I mean? Like ladies just have a lot more to us. So what do you think, Inez?
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree. We're like superheroes, and this is constant. Like that, I related a lot to Aster's kind of just staring and analyzing silently. That's like my constant state of existence, just observing and then making a confident action and then watching it and then just keep poking, keep finding and whatever. But just like her look and her composure of just being so focused, but that there's so much going on in her head.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about the difference in their acting experience, but also just their characters' lives, that might be what we're seeing on screen. Inez and Gabby is Halen. I get the sense like he's maxed out dealing with this situation, right? He's
Absolutely.
lonely. He doesn't know how to work a beacon. He's not there intentionally, or at least we don't know why he's there. But with the sticky notes everywhere on what dials and what buttons do what, that lets us know, like, right, he's way out of his depth here. And he's a bad liar, for sure. And she comes in, like you're saying, she comes in very much knowing the score. Although we don't know exactly why she's there, we got a sense of like the ISA they sound like the highway patrol maybe, or the people that run the highways in your given city. Like they sound like some sort of spacefaring space lane management organization or something like that. But the other group that they never really said who they were, was it the QT, something like that? That
they were hired by her company that
right.
she works for.
But it was like the
Are
pirates
we talking
and
about
her.
both episodes right now, or
Yeah,
just
kind of all
one?
at once. All at once. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, but they both say that they were hired by the same pirate sponsor. We don't know what that motivation is. It makes me wonder a whole lot about, did the dark matter or whatever that made the ship that was passing by crash? Like all of those plot points seem way too convenient to gel into an actual unplanned event. Like her pod comes out, the pirate ship is there floating, waiting for the wreck, all those things.
I guess that's what the cheese was, just like knowing something, just something randomly comes in. But I was just very excited and ready for it. And no, as soon as those like pirates entered, I absolutely understood. I don't know. I just felt like that all of this was supposed to happen. And then, of course, it was acknowledged later on that they were hired by the same people. And so that just, I don't know, like that. I guess I didn't expect it. So there was a brief surprise. But as soon as they got on and they were just on their mission, that's exactly how it was when she landed there. And she, where they're just so confident and they know where everything is and they have this agenda. And so it was really interesting for me. I just kind of accepted that, okay, cool. I have 3 storylines happening and they just crashed right now. And I'm really ready for the unraveling. So I guess maybe I've seen so many movies that have like some kind of like vantage point meetup that I did quickly catch on to that being the case. And I was just definitely okay with my confusion. I was totally shocked. I really appreciated how throughout the episodes, like from the very first one to the end of the first episode, big surprise, when they land and crash, and that's like, okay, this is exciting. But then even in the second episode, holy moly, I mean, can I talk about the content?
Sure.
I didn't expect that plot twist at the end where this annoying little green soldier decided to draw his first red or whatever they call it on his mother, the best character in the show so far, and then boom, that happens. And so I was and he just became a little man in that moment. And so that just provided again more context of like what you were saying, Paul, is like what's going on in all of these characters' lives. Like these are people, they're living in a time and in a world that like is beyond me. So they're not going to be, I don't know their context, but I think that whatever they're doing is probably appropriate for whatever like their background is. And so I was super enjoying all of the action and all the storylines and everything, but holy moly, when that happened, I'm happy with this writer.
That's a good point. whatever the ISA is, they've thought out this system travel to have these guideposts, these beacons along the way. And that seems fairly organized, but instantly we're exposed to maybe it's not, or maybe it's not great anymore, because a couple different characters mentioned that things aren't the way they used to be. And we kind of took it as, well, their own personal situations probably suck now, like the red-haired lady being the former leader of a planetary colony. Now she's a space pirate. Yeah, that things are not the way they used to be, that's for sure. But maybe she means something broader. Maybe what you were saying, Gabby, like things now aren't what they were, and people are having to turn to this sort of privateer freebooting living that ordinarily would never have had to take that route.
I was really disappointed, or a little bit disappointed, because I got over it quickly. When the lady soldier, she was such a badass, and then she died right away.
Well, I mean
that made me sad because
he
I
had
wanted
to be
see more
souped up
action.
to take her on.
I know, but I was really impressed by him. So I thought that the purpose served, and I was happy about it. But I was also the entire time just ready to see her in action. But it's fine. It's fine because I saw him and he was great.
Well, her little plot point suggests that we are far enough along in the future that there have been colonies that have existed long enough that either they have genetically manipulated the people that live there to withstand the elements and the environment, or they live there long enough that their bodies have naturally done so. So she's bigger, stronger, taller to live wherever it is she lives.
And then let's talk about the hacker man who has this umbilical cord that can go into the ship. That was amazing.
And it's like a hot dog meat falls out of the tube.
Oh my gosh. Inez, what did you think about that? I loved it. Loved it.
It looks like this is something like you just said, right? Like there's the evolution of the biology across these different people, because Halen also has an umbilical cord thing that comes out and attaches to equipment. So he gets souped up and has to charge that way. So I think like between seeing him and then the other guy, I just was like, okay, well, that's like cool. That's interesting evolution that we're seeing. I thought it was really cool watching the hacker guy at work while also experiencing Harmony and Bart's experiences in the computer system. That was super neat. I really, really loved that perspective so much. I don't think that I have ever gotten a chance to see that perspective before on film. So that was fun. After that, I'm just kind of like looking to see like, okay, what is this for? What is this for? What is this for? Right. Because so when we got to the Halen who had to charge himself up, he spent a long time charging. Right. And then they were like, we have to do this. Right. And then his output was really great, but I felt like it was super short lived. And I was like, man, that was a lot of drama of like charging. And then like he like goes down really fast.
It might be that he took kind of like a glancing blow from what had been charged up to be a fatal shot from those wave weapons. Because we know from, Boy and Mom that at close range, you're dead meat. And he was maybe 10 feet away when he got that hit.
Yeah. I loved watching him like in action after he was souped up. I thought those were really good perspectives to give, especially since we did get to see the kid kill the former minister, his mother, and seeing how she just went down, bam, gone, down, right? And so then it made me give like an appreciation reflection on what Halen went through earlier when he got nailed with that gun. And then he was just like, whatever, I'm still standing, right? But yeah, now that I understand that these are meant to be episodes that have like a start and finish of a specific conflict, as well as like a bigger picture kind of thing going on. I think now that I understand that, I won't be so critical about that kind of pace, because I'm so used to like Game of Thrones is like, it takes us
slow
like
and
5
boring.
episodes.
Yeah, I hate it. Simpleton writing, yes.
So now that I have that, because I was kind of like, I felt like we had a lot of cut scenes and back and forth between the scenes of seeing him charging up so much. And then what he did was so great. And then I was really intimidated. And I did want to see more of like super strong, like woman warrior, just to see like, kind of get a sense and feel and taste of that danger that you're facing.
Oh my gosh. So one line that I really, really fucking loved that I guess is like upper level cheesy was when Harmony told Bart to run a self-diagnostic because he was that's like her shutdown of him. Like he needs to like self-reflect, but that was also like a fuck you. Like,
I like
that was so great. Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like, you need to run a self-diagnostic. And then he's like, oh my God, you're right. Like, I need to fix this bullshit. It was out of line. I really appreciated that this AI, I feel like, is just so, I don't know. It's just beautiful. I'm saying realistic, but I mean, who knows? With AI, it's like everything is realistic and unrealistic. But I really, really love like their AI here that is like loyal and not trying to totally it is just like an excellent, not sidekick, but companion. It's an excellent Cortana. I don't know if you guys,
From,
Paul,
Halo.
you know Halo. Yeah, okay. Well, to me, it was just like Master Chief Cortana vibes that I'm getting constantly, and it's wonderful. It's just elevated Cortana, and I'm very, very proud and happy. But yes, her telling him to run a self-diagnostic and him just taking that beat down and doing just that was very appropriate.
Well, so far, Harmony might be our most reliable. She's not a point of view character, I don't think, but she is what she is. We know that Bart, for instance, is probably more limited and has some backstory that we need to know about Solomon and Halen. Halen was a liar from the beginning, but he's not a very good liar. And we don't know his whole story, but we know that he was around when Solomon died, and we don't know the answer to that question yet. So we're not quite sure what to believe that he says. And there are a couple different instances where Aster shows that she is a talented liar. Like her whole intro story was a lie. Her getting in good with the red-haired pirate lady was a lie. She just managed to create on the fly lies to try to get in with people quickly.
Well, yeah, she's a badass.
Well, that explains it all. But as far as a point of view character, it makes it hard for us to know where she's going, what she wants, why she wants it, all that stuff. We know that she wants these rocks, these glowy rocks, and they seem to be pretty important. But what else is going on there? Is she waiting for someone to come and get her? Or is she stuck there too? Like, what all is happening here?
She is who she is, and she's magical at it, and she's a lady. So I understand what she's doing. She has a goal, and it's all
she's winning.
Means to the end.
She's winning.
Yeah.
She's doing what it takes to win. So even if we can't really trust anything that comes out of her mouth right away, what you can trust is like her
the goal, the trajectory,
her focus, her extreme focus, her quick decision making, her confidence. She's really brave. She took out the really loud, big, scary captain guy like with her own bare hands. Great. That was
loved that.
It was all from him, like counting her out. Like he thought his presence, just the himness of him, would be enough to scare her down.
Such a typical guy thing.
Well, typical villain thing.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, so I find it really entertaining watching her like function and appreciate that she is on a mission, gets stuff done, and it's creative, out of the box kind of stuff. There's no need to be super honorable when it comes to like surviving and getting like your mission. You just gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, she is empathetic though. I think she is really consistent.
She is. I don't think she's a bad person. I just think that she's focused and she knows when to compromise some of those honorable things, right? Like you don't have to be 100% honest to get something really important like done.
But I don't think that makes you dishonorable either.
It's okay to lie to pirates.
Yeah, it is okay. But I didn't think that at all. I thought that she was really consistent and that I could trust her, actually. I thought that she and Harmony were both really similar in that way. The only difference is that Harmony is AI and knows everything, obviously, like, but doesn't have like the emotional component. But Aster is a human, so it's just the parallels, like the AI matches the personality, is like the computer version of this human. And so Bart is a dick, and so was his human. And so I thought that they were really parallel when it's just an excellent representation of like a flawed human and like an organic human, right? Like she's made out of like bones and skin and blood. Like she can die. And so she is just going her own way and her own path in order to like live this one life. And so I think that she is not predictable, but she's consistent. And so I do have like an idea. I absolutely know her trajectory, and I do like have an idea of how she's going to play a situation out based on like that trajectory. So it's a little more abstract, but I did find that like I could completely trust what her intentions were in every situation.
That's interesting.
So that's really interesting that
yeah,
you
because
had
we
different...
we may never be able to trust her history, but we can trust what we expect out of her. Like she's
Right.
Of the two of them, she's more calculated, more level-headed. I think she's more intelligent.
She's a lady, yeah.
Right. Yeah, with all the 10 IQ points just right away because of the ladiness.
Like 25.
25. Wow. Quite a bonus.
Not a bonus, just realistic.
It leaves us with a lot of questions moving forward to what comes next. One thing that I don't want to have a question about, and I think the final tracking shot away from our lead two actors was, I think, meant to tell us was that these two are not meant for romantic entanglement.
Well, yeah.
I'm perfectly great with that. What'd you guys think of that? Because their heads are like bobbing back and forth a little bit at the end there. And if you wanted to, you might be able to see one motion or another suggesting one thing or another. But what I saw was just two people that had gone through some, they just went through something big, and now they're just going to figure out how they're going to deal with each other. And that's about it. No, I think she might like me kind of business here.
Yeah, we're not children. This isn't a Disney high school movie, but go on. And as you elaborate.
He's been alone for a long time, and he genuinely, like, when he's saying that he just didn't want to be alone, there was a moment that I thought that the way that they looked each other in the eyes and moved, was like, oh no, is this suggesting a potential like love line? Because I don't think that this needs that. But then
you saw
like
it too,
did,
right? Just a second there, right?
It was a moment, and then as it like continues on and they just like lean on each other, it did kind of turn more into a like, all right, we got through this, like just comforting him as a human. He's hurting, and he was letting himself be vulnerable. He hasn't spoken to like a human in a long time. And she tried to take care of him early, in episode 1, right? Gave him medication for PTSD kind of symptoms. And so she is like a good person. She is empathetic and cares about that. And so I thought it was a really sweet moment. But for a super brief moment there, I did feel like they gave me too much love eyes when they're like looking at each other. And I was like, no, they don't need it. They're like really cool like this.
All right. Well, let me tell you guys what I saw was that brief moment was that of a mother to a child. That was what I saw, of just like this care for this person, because he was so vulnerable and honest in that moment. And that for me, when he said like, I can't be alone, that was huge for me. I like, that doesn't happen, especially, I mentioned Voyager and all these sci-fi shows and whatever from the past, and never ever ever do they bring up that component of vulnerability and loneliness and PTSD. Like, I really love that this is an incredibly realistic and hard topic to like understand and experience, to endure. And like at the end of the day, you know, he's so strong and blah blah blah, but any person like can't be alone in those situations, or else like you're nothing. You know, we saw that he's everything, he can be everything. I'm sure he was an incredible like soldier or whatever he was in his past, because he does have a lot of honor and duty and all that. But I thought this moment was just like very, very complex. When he did that to me, I saw like that of a mother who's just like, I need to like take care of you. I understand. And then immediately after, it was like, great, like you're going to fuck up my mission. This is annoying. You know, it's like you love this person and you will take care of them because you have it inside of you to be, but then you're like back to the mission, you know, out of mom mode, and you're like, well, fuck, great, like now we're gonna have a bunch of shit to deal with, but I guess this is gonna work out because like you have utility. But it would be easier if it was just me and my harmony doing shit, because you know he has his trauma. So to me, I just thought that she was like immediately empathetic and there was love, but it was more of like not romance. It was more of like a nurture. And then it was immediately into like, well, great, he's like an anchor, but it's fine, we can work it out. Maybe I was just projecting. Maybe we're all just projecting.
I definitely don't need them to be the slightest bit romantic at all, ever, throughout the course
Nobody
of the
needs
show.
that.
No.
Yeah, it was a really sweet moment, you know, and, you know, Gabby and I, you know, we both, you know, have PTSD from various like traumas in our history. And, you know, it is the worst for me. I won't speak for Gabby, but I know like for me, it feels really lonely a lot of the time, most of the time. And then like when you feel like you're suffering completely alone is really deeply like devastating. So I thought that that moment was really sweet, and I was really glad that they had it in here, because any tiny bit of like acknowledgement of the suffering is really helpful. But then like active comforting is, it's like a huge thing. So like whatever like big suffering he's going through before this moment, this is a bonding thing. I think like this will make him more helpful and more like loyal to her direction and guidance, because I feel like between them, like she's absolutely the leader. He did show great initiative. He did like, you know, help with the mission of getting things like back or whatever, but honestly, like it's all like from her, really.
Right. Did you find it at all interesting and telling, maybe, that Harmony mentions that PTSD has been done away with for years? The last case was a long time ago.
That.
So does it suggest that whatever it is that he went through, it must exceed the norm, whatever the norm is expected for soldiers?
I don't know if it exceeded the norm, but it does tell me that he has adapted or evolved past whatever they're doing to treat this. Like,
there were a lot of drugs,
preventatively.
did you notice?
Yeah.
A lot of derma patches, pharma was mentioned just kind of generically, but it came up a lot.
So he's like a super bug, right? Like, so all of those insecticides and pesticides are just like, it's not his human is coming out, and that's like gonna end up being his like superpower.
I think those are valid. Another thought maybe could be, maybe there's like something that's like programmed inside him that like nobody knows about, not even him. And maybe that could be like what's trying to come through or something. Just kind of out of the
Some
box.
alien is like seeding empathy and
He has so much,
emotions.
like, he has like stuff inside his body that is connected to electronics of sorts. It's somehow like enhanced his biology. It could be something downloaded into him that like,
you
know,
think it's a
that he
virus?
doesn't know. I don't know. Like Wolverine, you know, like
Right,
Wolverine.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. So there's another agenda.
Well, that's something that he's forgotten about, is still inside him, that rears up. And it did a few times in this.
I like that. Yeah. And I think it is meant to be. We're going to definitely see later on how it is a superpower, because he, like Aster, right? Like she has her trajectory. And I think maybe that's fueling him to keep and maintain his trajectory, because everyone else is just kind of flimsy. I mean, the minister wanted her child to like live and grow and develop, and that was her agenda, but everyone else is just really a true pirate except for Aster and this guy Halen, and it's probably driven by the PTSD or virus or evolved state that he's in.
So that's a big question moving forward, is what is this PTSD about? What is it tied to? Is it just bad memories, or is it something bigger, something that he went through that maybe he was forced to forget, that just comes out in these flashes that he doesn't know how to reconcile with? What other big questions did you have moving forward, Gabby?
I don't really have questions. I just have excitement.
What are you excited for then?
Oh my God. Okay. So this last episode, the second episode, had so many great characters and then they all got taken out. And so I'm really looking forward to the next batch of intense people who I mean, it's one episode, and the character development for these people like was excellent because I did care about every single one of them, including the cyborg lady who died early, the cyborg warrior lady who died early. Like, I think that the development is done so well that I am just looking forward to meeting the next one and the next one and the next one and feeling something in every episode. So I'm just like here for the ride, and it's thrilling. That's how I feel. And it's pretty.
By watching the credits, have you noticed that Stephen Root is credited as a co-star?
Oh my God, I didn't notice that. Oh my God.
Yeah. Ah! He is credited as Solomon.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can see.
right.
Yeah. He does look like Solomon, so obviously that is Solomon. Okay, cool.
And if you watch any of the preview trailers for Beacon 23,
there's more Solomon.
You see stuff that might suggest we get some flashbacks, or I don't know what, but you do get some Stephen Root on screen, not in like a space helmet in a security camera, but something where you can actually recognize that it's him. And that's, I'm looking forward to that to follow up on your point about the characters. Cause I know I have a lot of faith in his ability just to bring a character to life, just in his own skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is really exciting. Oh my goodness. And he's such, I don't know, apparently he's like a complex asshole, and I'm really loving that. I know that he was in Barry, and he was kind of that character in Barry.
Right, he was the fixer or whatever, right? He was Barry's handler.
I imagine that that's going to be a similar vibe, and I cannot wait. I can't wait to see him and Bart, because he's going to put Bart in his place, and it's going to be magical.
All right. Do you have any questions or excitements, Inez, that you are looking forward to with the next episode?
The little boy, right?
I honestly think that his arc is done.
Yeah,
I assume that. Yeah, I think he just like is gone in the world. I think that was just kind of like a really like sad evolution of him having this new transition in his life, and everybody's dead.
Think
and
about
now
killing
he's
his mom for the rest of his life now.
But he's a man now.
That was important.
So I didn't get a vibe that was meant to be a continuous story with him, but who knows. I'm interested to just keep learning more history about how this like former world where the minister kind of fucked things up, I guess, and millions of people die. Like, what's that impacting our overall story here with this like rocks that we're trying to get a hold of, and that we're trying to find. Did they find it? They didn't find it yet, right?
Yeah, they found it.
I've seen. They did find it. Yes. Second episode, I did see a bag of rocks.
The glowy blue stuff that disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I guess just kind of learning more about like what those things do and why like people killing each other.
Plot.
Why is it so important?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, show me new characters. You're like, tell me what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. Yes. That.
Where
am I going?
Well, I agree. I agree that the little boy, I don't think that he's going to be like a super continuous character. I do think that it would be really cool to see him at like his next stage or next level way further on, you know, like in Star Trek, they did have characters that did eventually come back like in one episode or part of an episode, or were at least referenced or something. And so I do hope that that happens because it is really interesting. And then, yeah, like Inez, you're I appreciate the way like you're trying to get into all of this because I'm like all scattered and happy to go with the scatter. But you're right. Apparently the minister did do something, and it was really apparent in like this boy who is so emotional, right? Like he feels a lot, he thinks a lot, he's really raw. But then, I mean, the fact that he felt justified in murdering her. So it does bring up the question of what exactly did happen and how bad was it? And, you know, we have this tiny snippet of perspective where we like her and we think she's, you know, all these positive things or whatever. But objectively, big picture, you know, is it actually like a justified kill? And so I did appreciate that it made me question everything that I was already thinking and feeling just based off of like his character going from one thing absolutely to another, because I still do believe that he like has feelings. I don't think he just became like this crazy person. He felt deeply justified, and if he felt deeply justified, I am looking forward to what exactly she did. That's kind of like that V for Vendetta, or V for Vendetta in general, but especially the scene where V talks to the doctor and she apologizes and he accepts her apology, but he had already poisoned her before she woke up. You know, it's kind of like that scenario where you are experiencing so many perspectives back to back, and then at the end of the day you're like, okay, I guess that's justice. You're like indifferent, but that's like the biggest justice that played out, and so you accept it and move on. And so I am curious, and I was curious, like when I saw him murder her and feel justified and move on, if he is just a crazy person, or if really there is more to this crazy backstory that made this be like the actual only like option for him.
He is deeply, deeply hurt and ashamed of whatever it is that happened. So I have a steep curiosity in exploring more of that, because I wasn't mad at him at all for being so like calling her out every moment he can, because he's just harboring so many deep emotions of something he thinks that she has done that's crimes against humanity, right? So that's a very interesting history that I want to get into.
That was funny. I was like, this little boy needs to shut up. He is a dumb baby. We're pirates here. Like, get the fuck over it. And then boom, he did that, and I was like, okay, never mind. You can hang. I'll like follow you. You sorry.
What they're dealing with is tied into what I always love to dig into with these new shows. When they present me a new universe of nerdery to nerd out about, all of a sudden I need to become an expert in that. So then I need to start thinking of, well, what makes this tick? Why is that the way this is? Who's in charge? Why are they in charge? All that kind of stuff that more developed universes, Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever, have all that stuff in it. And there's all those resources, movies, books, whatever, that tell you how it works. But here, there's not much to go on. And so what we discussed earlier about like, well, what is the state of this little galaxy that they're in? Why are these rocks important? That's the stuff that all of a sudden my little brains start to churn around. Like this failed colony the redhead lady was in charge of. Now, see, I felt a lot more empathy with her in that it feels like almost anyone could wind up being her, in that if she was telling the truth and she called for help and they said, fuck off, and there was no food for the people. I mean, maybe she was a bad administrator and she has the weight and the burden of the deaths that resulted from her leadership. But in another sense, like, what was she supposed to do? If the system was set up for her to, that was the extent of her power, was asking for help. You know, there was no other way to mitigate that. So then, you know, I could wind up being her. And so then that was where my sympathies lied, with those two characters. But the broader story, like the state of the universe, if colonies exist, but then when they ask for help, they can't be helped, then where are we as a society? Is it spinning down basically, instead of colonization thinks, whoa, things are on the upswing, but maybe not. Maybe things are much worse.
I did not sympathize for him at all. He was just annoying, and then I respected him. But her, yeah, absolutely. I really identified with her completely. And I was thinking, okay, he's just like this dumb little bitch who doesn't get it. And I guess he never will get it. But maybe I'm wrong. But either way, absolutely. She was my favorite character. I mean, I love the others, but I really just immediately when I met her just became like a follower.
I mean, you can even like piece together a little bit of backstory, right? To become a colonial governor, think of all of the paths that your life would need to take in order to wind up in such a prestigious position, you know?
Yeah. And she was such a badass too. And still
then all the
so
compromises
vulnerable
you'd have to make to be the pirate mom.
Yeah,
really deep character.
She showed a lot of vulnerability when she completely didn't have to. And I think it's easier for Aster, right? Because she's just one mission oriented, whatever. Like she's a badass all the time, stoic. But this other woman, the minister, she she had so much more depth, was way more dynamic in every moment. And I absolutely love that she, has the power and then like withheld it, because she could have definitely put her dumbass little child in his place multiple times. She understood the context of all of it. And the fact that, she trusted Halen's character because he didn't murder this dumbass little child, right? Like they let him be. That boy, like he should have died, and she protected him because she's a mother who's like, I need to put you in these, challenging situations so that you can have development and growth. And that's what she was doing, on top of holding herself back, on top of like, it was really, really beautiful. And then he murdered her with that shock thing. And that was like I actually made a sound. I was like, or something.
Oh, I didn't expect it. No. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't usually make noises or like movements with my body, but I'm like, this little fucking asshole. And then okay, I respect you. Fine. I was talking a lot of shit. Fine. But yeah, no, it was really sad. I was hoping that somehow she was also part cyborg and was going to move and wake up, and then she didn't.
Well, we had seen people survive those things, but.
Well, but no, I mean, but they were like
far
not
away.
that close. It just doesn't,
Yeah, this was like.
They were charged up.
Like that thing that looked like brass knuckles that she had used that just like wiped the shit off the desk. I think that's more like a defensive weapon, like it's like you're not gonna kill somebody with that unless you put it right against their head or something like that. But but what he shot her with was like a boarding weapon, like a pirate weapon. It is meant to be lethal, especially at short range.
I mean, yeah, you just all your insides just
turn into goo, right?
Yeah, that was really, really sad. I was visualizing that. I'm like, what a little fucking piece of shit. I was so mad.
I was really pulling for her. I mean, she'd made the deal. They were 10 feet away from their boat. And
what a dick.
Yeah. I hope he dies.
I know, but I gotta respect it because he survived. Good job, little pirate boy. Yeah. That's what it takes.
All right. Well, moving forward, we have these two characters. We have their reliance on each other. Maybe Aster's sponsor is going to come out wondering where the other party was, or the pirates. They don't appear to have any way off the beacon themselves, so they're stuck with each other. So, yeah, I have no idea what comes next, but I think we're going to see more people appearing there sooner or later. And we're going to need to figure out what happened with Solomon. We can't fully trust Halen. Yes, we had this adventure together and we protected each other. But at the same time, now that I know that he has that power pack item in the storage area, I might want to put that, in an area where we both agree that he can access it when he wants to use it.
Well, he's broken, right? And so what Inez was saying before about PTSD or like feeling comforted. So maybe this is like a really great manipulation tactic that Aster's, well, we 100% it's going to be a manipulation tactic where, you know, he's vulnerable. He goes to her for like that outlet of this like weakness and something that's missing inside of him. So I think psychologically, like she will have plenty of control over the situations based off of like his trauma and instability that he is aware of, and he's vulnerable and trusting her for guidance. It really seemed like in that moment he was like, I am like your second. I trust you to lead me and this because I can't handle shit. Even though I'm super awesome and an excellent like soldier warrior, I can't do it without you. So that's what I think. I think she's just fine. But I mean, nobody can ever really trust anybody anyway, especially when they're like not an AI that's like programmed to be obsessed with you.
We could all use a Harmony, right?
Or a Bart. I could use a Bart.
I love when Bart started talking and he's just like, he keeps saying over and over that he's the one who murdered him. He's like, I didn't murder him. I didn't murder him. And I'm like, you know what? I like believe in AI. An AI who like, you shut up and, you know, he didn't have his little voice or whatever. So, you know, so I'm interested to see like the Solomon story for that, because I'm like, I think maybe he did it. He just doesn't remember because he's overcome with something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a question mark.
Oh yeah, and yeah, no, for sure. I'm positive that like he participated probably
He's
physically.
a computer.
Yeah, but I think that I mean Stefan said that he like, or not Stefan, Halen said that he did murder him, but he also didn't. And so maybe like to me it just seemed like there was like a compromise, like I had no other choice sort of situation that happened. So like I'm positive that he like did contribute to that 100%. But was it an accident, or was it, you know, the only way to have something? Did the other guy go crazy? Did the other guy kind of do it to himself and he didn't stop it? You know, like, yeah, I'm positive that all that.
Do you think that Bart could be wrong? You know, because I'm like, how could it, would a computer, I mean, I know that he's got a personality. He's made in the likeness of Solomon, but even then he's still like a really powerful machine. So why would a powerful machine like be interpreting what is witnessed and participated in and be that wrong, versus Halen, who is not as reliable on like that kind of recollection and stuff like that? A computer versus like a PTSD memory blackout like person, you know?
But the computer can have that too. Like it can have like a virus or something, a glitch that happened where something can be interpreted as something. Because he, you know, Harmony said that he's like kind of dated and he's kind of isolated and whatever. So maybe like because he didn't have like the upgrades in that moment or storage or something going on, like technically, that he's not objective. And like Harmony doesn't really have a personality. She is objective. She has a mission, but Bart has a personality. So they're different softwares, like they're different everything. He seems much older, and she, I think, is like gonna help him become up to date, if that's even possible, if he's even compatible with like the most recent updates.
I think you're on something, Inez. I think it'll be something like he knows what he saw, and what he saw was Halen killing Solomon, and he's calling it murder because Halen's saying, I didn't murder him. So maybe he did have to kill him for some compilation of reasons. But was it murder? Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Either way, he did kill him. I do believe he did kill him, and I thought that he said that he did kill him, but it wasn't murder. Either way, Bart is wonderful, and I love that he's like always just kind of chiming in like he deserves to die. He killed my best friend. He deserves to die.
All right. It's up to Beacon 23 to prove us right at this point. I mean, we've practically written it at this point. So, I mean...
You're welcome.
I think it sounds like we also need to like create a wiki page.
Yeah. With our theories.
Tracking the
fan theories.
Well, there's been a lot of positive buzz for the show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Several articles have come out saying that this might be the sci-fi show you've been waiting for. It's just weird that it's on a channel nobody has. But yeah, there's been Hollywood Reporter and Variety and stuff are all very much in favor of this, what they're doing with this show. I think they like that it's kind of episodic. They like that it's pretty short. They like that there's not a lot to keep track of. Something about this production seems very pandemic era to me in that it's a small set. There's only a couple of characters, the kind of limitations that would make shooting with pandemic restrictions cheaper and more doable.
It's a huge budget, though.
Yeah, there are special effects. And special effects aren't cheap, but there's really only one set instead of gallivanting around locations and stuff like that. Besides Stephen Root, if you look at the cast of upcoming guest stars, there's no like Brad Pitts in the list. There's nobody like super expensive in that list.
Yeah, I just feel like the production value, the effects
it's good.
are
It masks
so
it. Yeah.
good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Cinematography, everything. So maybe it's just like incredibly highly talented people not getting paid what they should.
It happens. So anyway, that has been our coverage for the first couple of episodes. Episodes 1, Episodes 2 premiering November 12th, 2023 of MGM Plus's Beacon 23. I think we all like the show. Cheesy moments aside for some of us, I think, but I think it's a keeper. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm very excited and happy. It's the sci-fi show that I've been waiting for, Paul.
I've heard that somewhere. I've heard that. All right. Well, this has been Paul with Pod Clubhouse. If you're interested in following me for some reason, I don't really tweet anymore, but I am at Paul V Daily or at Pod Clubhouse. We are also at www.podclubhouse.com if you want to find all of our other shows that we're talking about. My partners, Caroline and Mike, are podcasting about The Gilded Age right now, which recently returned to HBO. If you're into period dramas.
I'm Gabby Vivar, and my Instagram is Gabby Vivar, so you can find me there.
You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Easy Thinks.
That's the proper way to refer to it these days, right?
Is that the official
platform
name?
Formerly known as Twitter. I just always read
yeah.
Tons of articles that I'm reading, like, all keep referring to it like that X, formerly known as Twitter. So
I think that's the official name or something, like, because it can't just be X, and it's not called tweeting, right?
I don't know. Is it not called Xing?
So stupid. Get it together, Elon. What are you doing?
Yeah, focus on space and cars and stuff. Forget.
And then give someone else the job to rename a tweet.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me this week, and we will be back. There are 8 episodes in this season, so we've got 7 more to go. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yay. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.
Pod Clubhouse.